Welcome back, everybody, ahead of Game 2, AXIZ versus Rascal Jester. And as we alluded to before, Max, the sleeping giant that is Rascal Jester is now awake, and they are well and truly firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, Rascal Jesters are in a fantastic spot right now, and I really want to talk about that. But before I do, I can't help but notice your library seems to have like a door that opened. And is that a refrigerator back behind there?
No, no,
What
no, no,
is?
no. This is my secret study. That's
Oh,
that one. That's the sliding door that allows me to get in. There is
to the
there is
kitchen.
arcane knowledge in here that cannot be that is not for mortal man.
Oh, okay, okay. Anyways, yeah, Rascal Jesters back in the physical real world that we live in. Yeah, they've been on an absolute tear lately. It's been a refreshing change of pace, I think, for a team because they were another one of the squads that, they had a lot of expectations at the start of the season, but then of course things didn't go their way through those first 6 days. It was a really rough start, first 7 days, I should say. But since then, what has it been? A 6 game win streak, I believe.
Something like that.
Yes. Yes. Precisely that, in fact.
Whew.
Yeah, 6 game win streak. The longest outside of DFM going 12-0, going 10-0 prior to that at least. And I was going to harken back to Rascal Jesters getting their Kingslayer titles, clearing ICC a week today. But, well, it's been talked about more than enough at this point, I think. It was a really, really good performance from the Jesters, able to step up and topple the Kings, drop them from their undefeated record. But let's talk about AXIZ Summer as well, because sat at 6th place at the moment, but they're still fighting. Like, while we sit and worry about V3 often just kind of fall apart in their games, I haven't seen an AXIZ game where I was just like, okay, they're just done. Like, they brawl to the end every single time, and that's really respectable.
I don't know how to judge Axis because outside of that one good showing, they have looked like the second worst team consistently. Now, the only reason I'm changing my tone is because Hawks and Axis have looked very bad together. V3 have just been worse, and these two teams have been jostling for best of the worst. Hawks have kind of slowly started to hedge their bets above them just because better drafts and they don't have the issue of our top laner only wants to play carry champions, so you
That's
get
the
more
big
standard
question mark.
drafts, you get more known things. A win over CGA is also always an asterisk for me because it's CGA, so there's always going to be a guarantee of a few random losses just because they coin flip the wrong way, and sadly Kassin is one of those coin flippy players that can have a bit of a disappointing performance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
coin flip act indeed. I was just, never mind. That didn't hit. That didn't hit. Go ahead,
not at all.
Max.
Well, I just was trying to like sort of reflect though on like access and like where if when they do find the victories where it really necessarily needs to come from right now because I do agree. I think their champ pool has almost been their biggest weakness. Like not necessarily in terms of flexibility as well. Like let me reword this a little bit better. Their champ pool has sometimes it feels like made them one dimensional, as mentioned before, reliant more on top lane carries, whether they want to do that or not, depending what they're up against. And I
Mm.
find it really surprising at this stage that that's not something that's been fixed. And as we are looking ahead towards the turn into the third round robin, these weaknesses only become more and more apparent. So even if they don't win this game because they try something radically different, I just want to see them try something radically different.
I'm also of the opinion that if we've had a best of three system, I don't think Axis would have actually got an overall win in a series because a lot of their wins come off of that kind of
Mm,
best of one scenario. I don't
mhm.
think they actually get a full
Not
two
against a
wins.
real team.
No, and I think CGA, they just had one bad game, right? Hybrid just had an
Yep.
uncharacteristically bad game. I don't think that happens in a best of series. I don't think Sangchu gets to pop off like he did again versus
Yes.
CGA in that same way. And that's what I'm really worried for in this game coming up for against Rascal Jester's brackish as I bring it back to you because I don't think they can do it because Soul and Secret are cracked at the moment, mate.
I'm glad that you bring it to Sol and Secret, because we were talking earlier in the split about how they weren't performing to the level that we expected of them. And now that this Titan has woken up, has started rolling, this Juggernaut must attack every turn, and they are now swinging, and they are swinging hard.
Yeah,
And
Rascal Jester doing their best primetime interpretation.
exactly. Yeah.
It's gonna be an interesting one. I'm still just trying to think though. I'm sorry to go back to this point though about the fact that you don't see, unfortunately, Axis winning a series at all against a team. I still think they win a series against V3. Now, whether or not you think they're a team or not, I guess that's up for grabs. But I still think they could probably
That's
eke that
yeah.
one through.
We don't talk about them,
But-
mate.
Okay, so
No,
I
no,
just want that
we
confirmed
don't
though. They're
talk
not a
about
team.
V3.
I
But
was
No, I
about
just
to
want to hear
make
you
that
say
exact.
they are not a team. They are not a team. They don't count.
they are in the LJL, thus they are a team.
Okay.
They're a team, but they're not a team.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to say it.
Max
They
knows where I'm
exist.
going at with this one.
Yeah,
But yeah, no.
exactly.
Back to the point at hand, though. Yeah, Secret and Soul. It's been really great to see them come alive. And again, there's been a few teams and players I feel like that's kind of been like that, where they've taken a little while to warm up, taken a little while to get going. And to harken sort of back to the format for this season, the triple round robin, I like this so much better than like the traditional double round robins for this exact reason. Like the more games that get played, we actually get to see the teams grow. We actually get to see the players get comfortable into their roles, especially again, I'm sorry to be repetitive going into that third round robin, but Swan, you brought it up at the start and how vital it is. Like the third round robin is the best test to actually see where these teams were supposed to be. So with that, my expectation coming into this game, Secret and Soul, they have no excuse not to take this game over.
And there is a little bit of a solace for AXIZ. We were talking about Toltu and how he likes to play his carry, specifically AD carries, in top lane. But in the win against Crest Gaming Act, we saw a surprisingly standard pick in the Kennen coming out of him, and him looking actually pretty damn good on it. Like, are we actually seeing Toltu transition to be more standard? And make it so that this team can actually play a more traditional style of game, or do you just? I see you're not seeing it, Max.
I mean, he played it a decent amount in academy. He played the Kennen. He was 1 win, 1 loss. Funnily enough, he actually lost against Crest Gaming Academy. Funnily enough,
Vengeance.
yeah, very much getting vengeance for that loss previously. I mean, Kennen is in his pool. The problem is, it's his only one. It's his only standard pick. And if any team are remotely worried about that, they just go, ban the Kennen. Okay, so he's back to just all that other crap that we know how to play it.
To play the next Shan that just gets camped out of the game.
Let's break down what Kennen is. Let's actually take a look at what Kennen is, because Kennen is a ranged character that has some scaling with AD, and in the past has actually been played AD in top. So is he really branching out his champion pool to play something different in that top side? I think Kennen might be sort of that gateway top laner, but like, I don't know.
I'm going to have to cut you off, Max, because we are getting over to Champion Select now, and I say that is a good point to be made. But anyway, we shall see if Toltu continues along his current trajectory, and if AXIZ can find an angle in this game against Rascal Jesters. Guys, take it away.
I hate AD Kennen. I hate it with every bone in my body.
Oh, man, I'm just trying to think of the other Toltu champions that are quote standard. I guess he's played a Jace. He once played an Ornn in Academy. God, how bad would that be right now? I mean, yeah, the Tryndamere ban, but that's also a Megumin ban, because Megumin obviously is the mid lane Renekton player.
Well, I meant Ornn.
Oh, I mean, you can't play Ornn anymore, can you? I mean, you just get absolutely mullered. And I mean, I love this hover as well. I mean, this is obviously a call out to Uzi, but also just a soul hover for Toltu and Sangchu. So, I mean, get him good. Obviously, though, Jinx was left open, and you can just draft a Tahm Kench, and now you don't ever have to worry about a pony man getting on top of your AD carry, because you just kick him away and continue with your day as it is. And AXIZ, are we going to see heavy dive, or are we going to see some peel, or are we going to just see a 5v5 team fight? Because the issue is, I don't think you ever beat RJ in a 5v5 team fight.
No, I mean, that bot lane duo is already going to be so strong. So I'd like to see them commit perhaps more for the dive. The Aphelios, that can work. I mean, the root is always going to be nice, and I do like the Yumi Hecarim combo if that's the direction AXIZ is
Me
going to
too.
go. It's giving them some flexibility, but instead they go for the
More
Nautilus,
standard.
and
Yeah.
it's better in lane, I feel like, than the Yumi would be, but I'm not sure it's going to hold up later into this game.
I mean, it depends on the angle that Rascal Jester decide to go with. It also depends on the top laner, specifically for me, for AXIZ, because is it going to be like, are they going to be doing 4v4 team fights, or is it going to be 5v5 team fights? And that's where it's really going to have to come down to. Recap, though, on the other hand, on maybe his favorite champion of this season, he's putting a lot of games in, he looks really clean, and ever since Veigar has seen more play, Recap has demanded bans, or you have to face him. And something I actually want to just mention very quickly, double ban targeted to Secret from the side of AXIZ. Like, zero time to just deal with what Rascal Jesters have, because it's all bot lane bans from them. Obviously, though, bot lane gets locked in for Rascal Jester, and they're like, I guess we target Hatcha Metcha. Shrug shoulders. The issue is you've drafted Hecarim, so you have to ban the Volibear here as well if you're AXIZ.
You would think that, but I've seen so many Hecarims, or sorry, not so many Volibears been getting away recently for unexplained reason. I don't really know why. More mid lane bans, though, being the focus for the Rascal Jesters, looking to really attack Mega Min's champion pool, and I can't help but notice no one kind of focusing on that top side on these bans this stage in this game.
Well, I mean, if you're Rascal Jester,
one.
look, yeah, I mean that's also technically a Hatchametcha ban more than a Ino ban, which is weird enough to say, but I mean, if you're Rascal Jester, you just draft any form of duelist that you're interested in, or you can go Vape Nation. There we go. There's the Volibear that we predicted. Yep. That makes total sense. And now, AXIZ, you do not get counterpick for your top laner. Your top laner is open picking into Ino, who has been beating almost every other top laner. Ino has gone from strength to strength. Remember, he's replaced, oh god, names have completely escaped me. I was on such a point there. He replaced Kinatsu. Obviously, both of them are rookies. Kinatsu was our MVP rookie, came into Rascal Jester, and has literally carried that mantle and looked fantastic. Whereas Kinatsu, obviously, we saw in that last game, is starting to look really good. I guess this is the angle that AXIZ are going in. We're getting 5v5 team fights.
Oh, not the Kennen.
Well, that's a counter pick for Ino to do.
It's the quote-unquote conventional one as we wait to see that Jace going to be the hover right now. Where do you think it's going? You want the Jace?
I want the Jace, because this would be such an absolute... Because what do you do? Okay, yeah, let's play 5v5. Jace is just going to chunk you down, though, before we actually have to do it. And if you remotely get caught out in a side brush or anything with a Veigar box, you're dead. I love this. This means Ino can actually just stay side lane this whole time. And Tol2 has to go, all right, I got to fight the gangplank. All right, I'm going to go and team fight. And then Ino just pops his ultimate and just keeps running on and just keeps split pushing the whole time. And he also, Ino has been kind of sicko mode on this. Whereas Tol2 had one game where he looked really good. We need to see this, and this is against a team who, I'm sorry to say this to all the CGA fans, Rascal Jester have better macro. Yeah, controversial, but I mean, facts are facts as well.
I'm just looking at these team compositions right now, and this one might. You feel free to throw some flack my way. But the Rascal Jester's comp, in my eyes, actually looks very similar to what the Hawks put together just that game before. Maybe it just has to do with the bot lane. I don't know, but the bot lane mixed with the side lane pressure that they're getting with the gangplank this time around, I feel like we can see a similar approach right now. And unfortunately, for the AXIZ side, I mean, they're a team that wants to pick team fights. They're a team that wants to go in, but the counter engage that I see coming through from the Rascal Jester side, like, it's going to be so tough to pick that right fight for AXIZ.
Oh yeah, we want to go on this angle? There's a Veigar box. Oh, you want to go on this angle? Tom Kench ate them up. You want to go this way? Oh, well, Volibear's in front of you and you stunned. Like, there are so many things, and I love how you gave that to me, because, yeah, they have a lot of peel do Rascal Jester, but they have that counter engage. And that's where the side of AXIZ, they have to pick and choose their fights very importantly, get those picks, or they just can't really go for it. RH Arms are going to be huge from Mega Min in this match.
Exactly, and I think that's the one difference in this matchup from that last one. The
Mm,
engage is a lot more ranged coming from the Axis side. When we watched our last game, everything that Burning Core had to do, they had to dive in, they had to full on commit. But at least Axis, they have that out button, and that out button is missing their abilities, and then they can sort of, I suppose, sit back and wait it out. So I don't see Axis being put in the same situation that Burning Core did with the sunken cost fallacy from that last
agreed.
game. However, that could also lead to this game to kind of stagnate and slow down. And if it goes into a game of pushing and macro, you said it before, Rascal Jesters, they're arguably the best in this region right now, and that's not a game that I think Axis wins as well.
Swamp, though, is an absolute sinner, and I'm gonna call it Divine Sunderer, Conqueror, Hecarim is my religion. Phase Rush, I'm not about it. I'm not about it at all. Mate, I'll be honest with you, I don't think the extra benefit, I feel like the extra damage that you can do is just far more beneficial. I don't think Phase Rush is really a rune that you need to take on Hecarim at this moment in time. You already have the speed, it's just kind of overkill at most points. And frankly, versus a comp that Rascal Jesters have, you'd actually rather have, like, if you get in there, you want Conqueror stacks to just get going, because you will just dominate, like, a Jinx and a Veigar if you can get on top of them. The big question is if, and I don't think Phase Rush is really gonna be helping us answer that question for you, so little bit surprised to see that come out. But outside of that, everybody else is playing pretty standard. Obviously, everybody adores Veigar at the moment because you get to go Predator with him, and then you just get to absolutely run around like a mad lad after you hit 2 items, and you just start getting tanky stats. But these top laners are just trading for funsies, and this early game is going to be super important. And a player we haven't even mentioned yet, Formal, but I would like to highlight is Sangchu, because he was such a pivotal member in their win over Crest Gaming Act. Obviously, he absolutely popped off in that match. So it's a lot of pressure is going to be put onto him to kind of find that standout performance and have another huge carry performance. And he's on a Valios, so he's on a good champion for that. It's going to be difficult, though. Yeah, he is, but it's just going to be a tough one because it's not the same team, right?
Yep. It isn't the same team, but I feel like the tools are there for Sangchu's success. This is where I like Dicey's Nautilus pick, is for that Aphelios Nautilus lane, and especially against Soul and Secret. I mean, they've been playing amazing, yes, but the Jinx, Tahm Kench, the kill pressure shouldn't really be that threatening unless we see a lot of roams coming from Hachimacha. They are kind of shoved in right now. I don't know. I feel like this should be one that goes Sangchu's way.
I mean, if you land the knock-up with Secret on the Tahm Kench into, obviously, then Chompers, you can get a lot of CCing just from the side of the Jinx and the Tahm Kench, and it can be a surprising amount of damage that Tahm Kench puts out if you can get his passive off, but it really does depend if passive gets procced or not. Hachimecha just casually taking a bit of his health bar, but gets quicker to that camp, and hey, double Scuttle Crab for the side of Rascal Jester.
It's about sending a message as well, just letting Swamp know, you know what, don't even bother looking, it's already gone. And I think Swamp spots that ward and says, all right, fine, you're right, I won't bother this time around. Yeah, that is a, look, when you're juggling and you go for that move, that is when you know 100% there is nothing the opposing jungler can do to steal this Scuttle Crab away. They did that by holding on to the smite, although I do like this response from Swamp, going straight for the invade.
I mean, you've got to try and get something for your time, and he's going to be finding the chicken camp. The issue is, it's coming up just as it's just respawned, which means he's not really taking anything away from Hachimecha time-wise at this moment in time, as Hachimecha's gone straight up to Golems, was going to rotate around and clear the rest of his jungle. The thing is, with how the timings are working, I don't think this is really going to affect Hachimecha a huge amount. It is sucky that his chickens aren't here, but he'll have a moment to then go to the wolf camp straight away, and it's kind of like, I didn't lose much through this. I'm okay with this. I just get to my bot lane or mid lane faster after this rotation, so... minor gain for Swamp, but Hachimecha is probably still going to hit 5 first, so...
Yeah,
Eh.
it's going to be be able to play the deeper wards because of the mid
Yes.
and the bot lane actually pushing in favor of Rascal Jesters. If Hachimantra wants to be a bit more aggressive and really start harassing Swamp on their side of the map, they will have that earnest to do so. And considering when you take a look at the jungles, there's really nowhere else to go. And I think that's why we're actually seeing Mega Man start to roam down. AXIZ was aware this could have been the play, but there's not much you can do when trapped in the event horizon.
Oh.
The stun gets them both, but the follow-up damage is not there.
No, it wasn't, and it's a little bit sad for Recap there. Obviously wanted to try and find more damage, but used his full combo and then landed the root. Obviously wasn't expecting them to walk into it at the very end. I don't think anyone would, but I mean, hey, net gain for the side of them, and Ino needs to be a little bit scared of Tol2, because he could definitely flash forward, Q, E, and with his ult going over the top, and definitely could kill Ino. So he's backing, recalling now, gonna TP back in, rotate effectively around, and he's gonna be able to catch most of this wave. So he's not gonna be a huge amount of CS behind, should only be about 4 or 5, but looks like something wants to break out here.
Yeah, this is Secret trying to get their way in, but can't connect on the knockup. Swamp has a peek for the re-engage. The position of the Chompers kind of causes AXIZ to hesitate. They don't go for it this time around. Soul as well, having 0 mana, that would have been a very awkward fight.
Important thing of note that just came in for me, because I just looked at a Discord chat. Recap has an undervoted love currently, and I'm putting words into his mouth, ladies and gentlemen. He loves Veigar specifically because he has a cute walk, and I would agree with him.
You know what? I especially when Veigar starts moving fast, because then like literally
Predator,
just skipping around the rift. It's beautiful. I'm gonna have a look at taking that time, I should say. I also had to look for some Discord chats to see what people were messaging me, and apparently I was supposed to be in a meeting, but it got canceled.
Well, that's
so they apologized. I just got an apology that they couldn't make the meeting that I didn't know existed. Fantastic. Anyway, my life is together, Swan. Trust me.
I mean, it sounds it, mate. You planned accordingly. You knew you were going to be able to come to this cast because you knew the meeting was going to get cancelled. It's like you just knew, mate. You're too 5-head sometimes.
Exactly.
That's what we're going to take away from all of this. As it stands currently, Swamp getting a pretty solid engage, and now has actually gotten a level advantage over Hachimecha, who was able to get those double scuttle crabs, but Swamp has been able to effectively do some counter jungling, and has really prevented Hachimecha's momentum going forward. And as it stands currently, AXIZ are actually the ones in the laning phase for the first 8 minutes that are looking pretty good. The issue is, AXIZ have almost always looked good for the first 8 minutes. It's when you get to the 14-minute mark, that's when things have normally fallen apart for them. Because first Rift Herald, first Dragon is normally where they look okay. Obviously though, Rascal Jester was able to secure that first Dragon, and they are equal in gold currently. Ino does have ult, so if he wants to just pop the ult and throw that down, they do have an option. I know Tol2 is coming around, and it seems like Rascal
everyone.
Jester...
That's the full AXIZ team, so the Onslaught of Shadows making contact against the Jesters could be massive. Super Mega Death Rocket nearly kills Swamp. The follow-up damage from Recap will secure it as the Slicing Maelstrom actually almost takes down the rest of the Rascal Jesters involved in that fight. Re-engage coming from Mega Man. The charm does not connect, so we don't see that follow through. It's a 1-for-1.
Huge Mega Death Rocket very much assisting the side of Rascal Jester, and Recap getting that win is definitely a beneficiary person you would want to get it on. Hasn't been able to actually even start their mythic really, but I mean that's just how it goes, and this is part of the reason. Recap, you can't really be playing frontline, but thankfully though the box does a decent job, but Hachimecha comes over the top, and then Recap is just always constantly kiting away. He's running away this whole time. He gets into the middle of multiple members, and Sangshu and Tol2 just really make sure they get him. Thankfully though, they're able to get Soul excited. He's able to come up and kind of prevent the side of AXIZ from really collapsing onto Hachimecha and co. And dissuades them from going in, so they're able to just make it a 1-for-1 and nobody else really gets anything else. Rift Herald is still alive, which is probably the funniest thing at the end of all of this.
The thing that surprises me as well about that fight was the fact that it was actually the Jesters who engaged through Secret, I believe at the end of that all, or actually it might have been Dicey. I'm just trying to think of the positioning. I wasn't sure. It looked like the Jesters walked into that fight knowingly, despite the fact that they were the team that was outnumbered. And it kind of goes back to something that I could see being a bit of concern for AXIZ is that go button. Outside of the dredge line and maybe a charm connecting, I think it could become difficult for AXIZ to really commit to some of these fights that later we go in just because of the threat of the Jesters re-engage, which we did get to see in that fight as well. I mean, the Super Mega Death Rocket, typically not a re-engage tool, but it kind of acted as one. And then following up from that, AXIZ realized as soon as the flashes over the wall, they couldn't really keep that fight going. So I would like to see AXIZ try to actually commit to fights, especially when they have that number advantage in their favor.
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, something that they haven't, well, AXIZ haven't normally done well in their match, but they're doing this fantastically here, is they just said, all right, hands up. We just won't fight you for this Rift Herald. First Rift Herald is normally worth fighting for, but if Sangchu can get this many turret plates and waves just funneled into him without much punishment from the side of Rascal Jester, that's pretty great. The issue is Soul actually just rotated around to topside after they got that Rift Herald, and Ino's like, yeah, you can just take two Heralds, and guess what? You can turn off a turret if you have a Volley Bear. Not going for it now, but an option was there.
They still might do it, actually, as, oh my gosh, Shelly getting dragged deep in lane. I don't even think we're going to see a charge. Nope. Shelly was distracted autoing champions right there, so, all right, goodbye, Shelly. Didn't really accomplish too much this time around, although now with the wave crashing, we could see some action. Maybe another time, though. Everyone's going to back away for now.
Nice play from Dicey there. That's really heads up, and it allows them to get there. But however, the issue is, plates going down in bot side. Hachimechi was way in that bush. Swamp!
Uh-oh. Soul and Secret are still waiting around, though, and they actually take their time before springing the trap because they want to go straight for Singchu as the re-engage does come through from Dicey. I don't think it's going to be enough to save the AD carry. Singchu so low. The chase is on the health bars in the Jester's favor. Onslaught of Shadows is countered by a nice Devourer, and on the flank, it is one recap, finding not one but two kills for the team. Although I didn't get credit for them both. That's all. Knockup doesn't commit. The charm did, and Mega Man will be able to escape.
Oh, that was huge, having Recap rotate around and being basically at parity running alongside Mega Man in this really awkward kind of mid laners of, who's going to get there first? Recap got there first. Health bars were in the place where they needed it. And the patience they had for Rascal Jester here was huge. It's really trying to allow Sangchu to get out of position. But Sangchu was honestly an absolute mad lad in this whole team fight. Routinely just running as far away, changes guns and goes to red gun so he can actually gain a bunch of health before switching back over to purple gun to actually root so the engage can't continuously keep coming. Yeah, Recap comes around and kills him, but Sangchu really made the side of Rascal Jesters work for it, and that's the big takeaway I'm getting for that. There are so many great moments from AXIZ, and it feels like they're still doing their best Honey impression, even though he's long gone and is now on Sengoku.
I was also really impressed by Secret's timing on the Devourer right there to save Hachamacha as we were looking for the engage. Again, just missing out on that knock-up. And AXIZ wants no part of this. The Dragon gets taken. They're happy with that. They're going to run away. Looks like Secret might want to chase. The wards do get dropped, so it's not going to be a surprise attack from the Jesters. But that's not their goal. Their goal, it's that tower. Can Soul get some autos down on it? It's proving to be too risky this time around.
But you know something I mentioned to you earlier when we were at that 8-minute mark? I was like, oh yeah, it's normally, this is really good for AXIZ, but this is normal for them. This is what we always see. We're getting close to that 40-minute mark, and now it feels like it's a bit different now as, Mega Man.
Now, what was your point going to be? Was it AXIZ is turning it around or looking stronger, or here's where it falls apart? Choose your next words wisely.
It already felt like it. Oh no!
Which one is it? Because I'm going with the falling apart right now. Yep.
I mean, it was already starting to go there, but small things like Mega Man getting caught out in a box where he really shouldn't be getting caught out, especially with a flash still up. It's the kind of thing where you look at it and go, man, this sucks. I felt like AXIZ still have such good pre-10. It's a weird one where you have to go, pre-10 minutes, AXIZ look okay. But then after 10 minutes is where it continuously falls apart, and now at 14 minutes in, multiple turret plates, they only got 3 in this bot side, did the AXIZ team, whereas on the top side, we all know that Soul was able to accrue 3 in the top side and 2 in the bot lane, which basically equals, well actually no, Ino was the one that took the ones in the bot lane, which overall equals AXIZ didn't get any real objectives going, and if you look at the gold lead for our 280 carries, they're actually at parity, so AXIZ are a bit screwed, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, especially when I'm looking at the top lane gold
First
differential,
turret,
that mid lane
though.
gold differential. Yeah, that will help. That's a good chunk of gold actually to Senchu. 500 ahead right now of, one soul, and immediately
That's
gonna
almost
cash
1k
that one in.
gold now. Yeah, all right. That's something.
I still worry about though in that top lane matchup against Toltu. I feel like that gangplank, that side lane pressure that is slowly growing ever since that Trinity Force has been bought. As I
Yeah.
feel has been just been in control of that lane. That's gonna be the Achilles heel. I feel like AXIZ at the end of it all. That and possibly getting caught out right now. Dicey voids the knockup. Charm does make contact. However, it's Tom Kench. Anti-fun, tanky, engagey apparently now. Great, that's awesome. Yeah, he'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah, and look at this. He can just tank the turret. Like, tanky boy.
Oh,
Had you
zap.
met ya?
The Zap made contact, but they don't commit for the play. So a little bit lucky, I feel like, for Mega Man. They don't get run down.
Yep, but had to pop the ult, so won't have that in case of anything. And I mean, Toltu and I know are just going to continuously bash heads against one another. The one thing though they have to worry, and I'm gonna bring it back to a point you raised, is that Trinity Force now, I know, has very much got pushing power and is more than happy to just play side lane for the rest of this game. And the moment he's left alone, he's going to chunk towers. I'm a little surprised he didn't go for something like a hull breaker, but I mean, maybe he just doesn't want to conform like everybody else does. And you know what? In all fairness, if he's not going to play the side lane, he's going to group a lot and try and match, just as he's doing right now. The moment he saw told to leave that lane, he rotated around. And look at this. Actually, Ino is closer with his team than Toltu is. What?
Yeah, that's not what you would expect to see in this type of situation, especially with Rift Herald now spawning, and it's going to be immediately taken by the Jesters. Meanwhile, I know in that top side, I will say this, Toltu actually has been doing a semi-decent job in, keeping that lane as neutral as possible, but again, it's those other objectives that are now at threat. AXIZ, it's all about picking the right fight. The question is this going to be the one right now? They have all their members there, but the objective is already gone, and AXIZ decides now is not the time to try to pull the trigger.
When will be? That's the question. When will be?
How about now? But it's the Jesters who strike. This time the knockup does make contact. Recap gets the first kill. Might get the second as well. Nope, Secret steals that away. Two quick picks thanks to that Event Horizon. And now Sanchu might have been found out again. Has to try to kind of jump away right there. But the pressure in the mid lane, it's going to be a lot. That should be a tower gone. That's going to be more pressure in the jungle as well. Jesters now taking this game over.
That's a Gale Force, though, from Sangchu, so he's now leaning on his Flash and a Cleanse. If he gets caught out here,
Oh,
big
the
summoners.
flank! Catch and match onto Toltu, already gone. Nope, we'll survive. No, never mind. It's that last shot that brings him down. Also falling in that was Swamp. 2 more kills for the Jester as Shelly goes all the way into the base. Now Secret wants to join him. Maybe a little too deep right there. Event Horizon does not make contact, and that means the inhibitor will live.
Yeah, but now they're getting a dragon as well to the side of Rascal Jester. They got 2 turrets in that push, 2 kills for their time. And AXIZ, it was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. A few 3, 4k gold, you can come back from that. We've seen it before, but yeah, you guys didn't have to fight for this. Mega Man's just going to clear out this pink ward and then is still on vision, and the side of Rascal Jester go, I mean, we can just kill Mega Man here. It's free. Gets collapsed on, dead before the fight even starts out. And then afterwards, it's like, what? Where can Sangchu really do much? I want to pay attention to Sangchu because he's the member on the side of AXIZ where you have to look at the amount of damage. Tries to get some damage out, but he's got red gun, white gun. Great for dueling, but not so great when your whole team is falling apart. And look at this. Sangchu is just always in a spot where he can't really step forward. He's always being pushed around, and when your Aphelios can't actually start putting out damage with red gun, white gun, you're kind of in a bad spot.
Yeah, and that bad spot is one of those ones that just gets worse and worse, I feel like, as the game will progress as well. So AXIZ now sitting in a very deep hole. Very fortunate, I suppose, in a way, that it was only Rift Herald that kind of got taken as part of that.
But Dragon also got.
Oh, yeah, Dragon got lost, but it's not Baron.
Yeah. Yes.
It's not Baron. That's what I'm trying to get at. They don't lose Baron, because Baron with an already exposed inhibitor would be a very bad time. But even now, that exposed inhibitor is just going to mean so much pressure for the Jesters, especially through the mid one. They can just push that mid wave in. The threat is going to cause AXIZ to kind of rotate around and have to deal with it. And then they just branch off to the sides, control the jungles, control those future neutral objectives. I mean, the Jesters, they are in complete control right now. And if you step too far forward, well, this is what could happen. Swamp, as well as Toltu, in a bit of trouble right here. Swamp actually steps into it thinking, yeah, I want this fight, and leaves poor Toltu on their own. Slicing Maelstrom doesn't do anything, really, and that's another kill for the red team.
I mean, another kill. They already got the turret in the top side, and now they're just going to be brute forcing this. Hey, the recap's in mid. He is more than capable of throwing a cage down in an ideal place, and then going, well, I cleared the wave. What do you want? You can't dive me.
You don't want a base race. That's the last thing you want, especially for a tier 1 tower, even if it is in mid, but they wind up giving away that bot side for free. I mean, Mega Man is just underneath off screen trying to do what they can. It's not much. Swamp was looking for a flank that was never going to work, and now AXIZ, yeah, they're scrambling.
Yeah, scrambling's probably the best way to put it, and you can see how late some of these backs are coming in. The side of AXIZ are definitely not prepared to play on the back foot, and this is something that AXIZ in summer 2021 didn't struggle so much with, but you can see that this is where the AXIZ team are currently struggling, and this is mostly because, and I wonder, Formal, is this a lack of leadership? Is this a lack of experience really showing for the side of AXIZ? Because everyone on their side is a rookie outside of Megamin, who was on their rookie split and was very much learning from Honey and Hoglet a lot last split. Sadly, they haven't been able to really get it together, and they get some wins. They're 4-9, they're definitely getting some, but it's not always against that upper echelon team, and this doesn't feel like the same AXIZ that beat Crest Gaming Act.
No, this feels like an AXIZ that's running around with its head cut off, and we can go back to, well, essentially when the pick started to come through in the Jester's favor, where the game started to fall apart. So it feels like to me, AXIZ, again, to kind of piggyback off that leadership, when you don't have that solid leadership and that solid communication, when things start to go awry from the plan, that's when you rely on the leaders to kind of guide you through it. But if you don't have that adaptability, you don't have that leadership to kind of guide you through it, that's when the team starts to struggle. So I'm in agreement right now. I feel like they're not adaptive because they don't have that experience. It's something that will improve in time, but so far in the spring split, yeah, I don't think it's there yet.
All right, Formal, we've set it up. AXIZ, if you lose this game, and even if you don't make playoffs, it's okay, but look at Soul, and look at Secret!
That's a nice two-man knock-up, and Soul just on the back end of it all, able to throw down any autos that they want, yet they actually walked away to give the kills to the front line. I respect that from my AD carry. That said, Baron now pretty much should be going their way uncontested, unless we want to see a suicide attempt. Even Ino is going to go ahead and teleport up to get involved, and that should be the Baron going their way. Yes, they'll give up a tier 1 mid tower for it. They might even give up the tier 2, although they're already trying to react to it, so it could come at the cost of both Sangchul and Toltu's live recap, leading the charge not quite in range for that event horizon.
Who are we going
no, he stepped back into it. Why would you step back into it?
3?
What?
Oh, thank you.
Oh, like Vigil. All right. No. And Mega Man got found out as well. And yeah, this is a big angry bear. The Apex Predator finds another one. Although Swamp might want to get re-involved. They decide not to. Why did Toltu turn around?
So Toltu had ult, right? So you have to imagine he wanted to pop ult. He just didn't expect the cage to come out to stun into the knockup, which was CC chained. But ultimately, Secret with the huge fine soul, zap, mega death rocket, begins the auto rain, but actually doesn't even begin the auto rain, he just dissuades Sangchu from walking around and rotating, and the whole side of Rascal Jester just go like they are the Cookie Monster and just eat the members of AXIZ that are in front of them. And at this moment in time, they also secured the dragon, they got another objective or two around the map. I mean, this is just Rascal Jester kind of pulling all the strings and just going, oh, there's a loose thread here. And then half of AXIZ's base just falls apart and they're like, huh, well, we'll pull another string. And that's all they're doing. They're picking apart this side. It's 11k. I mean, at some point, we've got to call a spade, and a fork a fork. And I think this is a spoon. I think AXIZ are a spoon at this point now. They're not even a
spoon
shovel.
with a hole in it.
Yeah. Yeah, bless them.
Oh, there we go. That's a nice little bit of engage. Also, Shadows tries to get to the back line, but it doesn't really connect onto Soul, who is still quite healthy, just throwing down autos everywhere. There's the flash forward from Toltu, but by the time he gets to the slicing, Maelstrom's already gone, and all the tools being used to try to get to the back line, yeah, nothing sticks. The end result is already a 4 for none, and Recap lost the flash for this last one. There you go. The Primordial Blast secures it all for the Jesters. That's going to be the game. That's going to be their 10th win of the season as they take care of business against AXIZ.
And a fantastic performance. 25 minutes. Rascal Jester flexing, looking good. First 10 minutes, though. AXIZ should take away with some pride, but Rascal Jester looked too clean.
Hold on. You spent the entire pre-show talking about how no, unless you get the win, the first 10 minutes don't mean anything. And now that it's AXIZ, oh, it's okay, pat on the back.
You wanted to give the Hawks some credit for having moments of glory.
They have a better record.
They have the same. Well, they now have a better record. We had to see the overall result of that game, but no. In all fairness, yeah, they looked good for 8 minutes, but I even predicted it. I was like, they won't make it to 14 minutes, and they didn't.
You were right.
It was already over by that point. 3K gold lead. It never felt like AXIZ had an option back, and that's how it went.
Yeah, that was how that entire game went. And I mean, it's a little bit frustrating, I feel like, for AXIZ right now, where it's the same sort of pitfall that happens again and again and again, and eventually that's going to have to change up, you would think. I don't like calling for roster swaps. I don't like calling for changes because it always feels bad, especially when you have a team of all rookies and it feels like they just need that experience, but they need that leadership as well. They need something to guide them into a more adaptable sort of mindset into these games, and it's just lacking right now.
It is, but you know what isn't lacking? Our segues over to our breaks, where we'll be coming back to really discuss how this game went down with Brackish Brit. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. Oh, how clean was that formal? Oh.
Welcome back, everybody, after another dominant win from Rascal Jesters, and to put the entire game into a single phrase, something simple and succinct, it was okay, right up until it wasn't.
Yep. 10 minutes went okay, but then the other 15 minutes were real bad.
It's almost as if it's been a reoccurring theme, almost as if that's been the problem AXIZ has been facing constantly. What I find interesting, though, is you could also say at the start of the day, the Hawks were similar, but the Hawks have made those adjustments. They've been able to improve. And the reason why I compare those two teams, they're the ones fighting for that sixth spot right now. And when you look at these two games, it's advantage Hawks.
Are they even
I
fighting?
mean,
One of them has leapfrogged the other.
Mm.
actually, they're now on the same. They're now on the same record, both 4-10.
Oh, are they? Oh, okay. All right.
Yes, yeah, they're now both
Disappointing.
4-10. But considering current trajectory, I would not be at all surprised to see the Hawks overtake AXIZ in tomorrow's games. And I noticed something interesting, and I want to get your specific thoughts on it, Lexi. 2 games, we're still on 12.4, no hull breaker. It's still a really, really, really strong item. It hasn't been nerfed, and yet our players aren't picking it up.
I mean, definitely one of these two players should have picked it up, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. So it's one of those weird ones where, for the side of Rascal Jesters, especially in this matchup specifically, they don't really need to worry about a lot of stuff like a hull breaker because the game probably won't go that long versus the side of AXIZ. And AXIZ drafted a comp where they want to play 5v5, so it makes a lot of sense for the side of Rascal Jester to actually match Toll 2 in a lot of sense and just go for the pure power that a Trinity Force does offer. Whereas Hullbreaker benefits from 1v1s, from side lane pushing and everything. If you don't think you're going to be doing that, you don't need it. And I mean, they didn't have struggle pushing towers down, did they? In a lot of spots, because they just normally had an advantage and just brute forced it in a lot of spots.
Very true. And when the team's playing together, then you like the value of Hullbreaker goes pretty much through the floor.
Yeah.
Actually, that right there, that we just saw on stream, Megamin getting caught, that felt like that was basically the beginning of the end for me. That was this is becoming untenable for AXIZ to fight back.
Yeah, that fight definitely feels like it was one of the catalysts. I would even go back to the one beforehand though, when the Jesters kind of showed like what happens when AXIZ gets themselves found out of position and kind of picks that wrong fight. But this is the first one that we saw the Jesters kind of move cleanly as that group of 5, and the way how they were able to
Yeah.
protect both the recap as well as Soul throughout these fights where they were getting so much damage down. It felt as if AXIZ was never really respecting the spacing that the Jesters team composition range had. And this is another example of that where they find themselves barred in, but the spacing that Soul with the chompers down below, preventing Sangchu from being able to rotate around. The team of the Jesters, they were so good at allowing themselves so much breathing room that it became so much easier for Recap and Soul to take over these fights.
I'll be more objective and just be like, it was already a 5k difference at 17 minutes when we came into
Fair.
that mid lane push. It's probably already done at that moment in time. The fact is, AXIZ had brief moments of okayness, but what it never led to anything that was good. That actually led to something proactive. And Rascal Jesters were very good at turning the screws here in this match, where once they got something going, they just cranked it to 11. And this final team fight, AXIZ injected into, which is the perplexing part. Because yeah, 4v5 looks good, but with a gangplank ult, very different scenario immediately, especially when Sangchu isn't able to get much damage. And honestly, this was just the difference between Soul being able to do a lot and Sangchu never really having an opportunity.
Yeah, well, when you
It
can push
does.
one button and then he's dead, I mean.
They let him have it.
Outplay.
They let him have it.
They did, and Recap has been looking amazing on the Vega throughout. This time, going for a slightly different, just full AP, but when your team is so well set up to protect you, like, oh yeah, Tom Kench Volibear, just don't worry about it. No one's going to ever actually be able to get to you, and he had his Zhonya's to boot, so yeah, just stack on that damage. Don't even worry about a Fimbulwinter this time. Go for the Seraphs, go for that burst, and, well, Sangchu definitely felt it under that Nexus.
How happy do you think Recap was when he realized this is the game I can finally go AP? None of this, off tank, whatever. I can finally do all the damage I want to do.
As soon as we
That's
hit
gotta be a good
12-5,
feeling.
17 minutes when he hits the cage and and Toll 2 went back. That's when he realizes, mate. I think that's the moment. He's like, the Kenner's just gonna walk at me. Sick, I press R, I kill him.
Yes, and then you stack it all, and it's every Vagar's player dream. That's like that's when you become the tiny yordle of evil or whatever his phrase is, and you're just cackling maniacally behind the keyboard.
I love
the opponent. That was it.
Wait, what?
That Veigar. That's what he says.
Yeah.
That is not a Veigar quote.
He longs for a worthy opponent, mate.
Yeah, I
That's
love for a worthy
Fiora's.
opponent.
That's
That's
Fiora's
Veigar.
selection quote.
That's literally a Veigar, mate. Look at the
I
wiki.
swan here. That's Veigar.
I'm gonna look that up. I am certain.
you,
I have played
Formal.
League for 11 years. I am certain that is not a
I
Veigar
like
quote.
that my co-caster backs me up here. And
Yeah.
production. Oh, I got the production diff now, Bracky.
I'm checking.
Come at
I
me,
am
man.
vehemently
And when
stating.
we
We're going to a
fall,
break.
we will
I
fall
we're going to a
together.
break. We are going to a break. I'm going to say goodbye to you guys.
Thank
I
you.
am looking this up. All right. I will
coming
put
in?
my hands up if I am wrong. And we've got Temporal and
Yeah,
Infinite
but we're
Dodge
getting
coming
kicked
in.
off, so if he's wrong, you better admit it. You better admit it. 'Cause we
I
won't be
will
here to hold
do.
you
Hand
accountable.
on,
Okay.
hand on heart. If I am wrong, I will admit
Yeah,
it.
don't.
But I am certain that I have never heard that line when I have played Veigar in all of my 11 years playing League. We're gonna go to a break though. Yep, swapping out the casters. I'm done with these guys. They're talking back too much.